Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. We are live on this 19th day of March in the year 2022. It is 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And tonight, destroying hope and accepting doom. Your doom. Good evening, everyone. I hope that this is cross-posting properly so that everyone gets to see it. It should be. It says that it's been cross-posted to the group as well. So, as always, hi. How are you? Yeah, wow, interesting times, right? First of all, as always, let me express my love for each and every one of you, for all of you. You know, we're all part of this one whole. And it is that realization that we all desperately need to make. So, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. That's really for sure. And a few of those things are not so pleasant. So let's begin with first just taking a moment to recognize, to allow ourselves to become aware that it is not only so many millions of people who are suffering in Ukraine right now. It is millions of people in the Tigray region of Ethiopia. It is millions of people in Syria. It is millions of people in Afghanistan, including some 6 million children at the edge of starvation. Our world is rife with conflict and inequality, and we see so little of it. Now, a lot of people have engaged in a sort of escapism where they say, well, no, you have to stay positive all the time. And positive and negative are a misconception of life itself, and I really like to try to stay away from them. And for those people who buy into that sort of idea that, everything has to be happy, that everything has to make you smile, that everything has to make you feel good, you're missing out on the point of life. The real truth of it is that whatever is simply is. You see, for the 7.9 or so billion human beings on the planet, and we're only going to talk about the human beings right now, each one of those human beings perceives its reality in a way different than the other 7,899,999,999 people. In other words, the idea of positive and negative are two sides of the same coin, and it all depends on where and what in the world you are. That will determine the flip, which side comes up. I try instead to think in terms of what is leading us towards the realization we're a whole, or in terms of those things which are hindering that progress. And through that, neither one are necessarily bad or good. They, again, simply are. But it becomes a more objective observation of reality as opposed to tying a feeling and emotional state into it. And you know, I'm speaking in terms of the majority of my experience. I am prone to breaking down in tears at a moment's notice over some of the things that are happening in the world. And, you know, you have to be willing to allow that with yourself. It's okay. It's an expression of a built up, pent up sort of general frustration that is becoming manifest literally from a heart level as we feel a lot of times so helpless in the face of all the things that are going on right now. And when we fall into that sort of positivity trap and therefore blind ourselves to being aware of what is happening in the world around us, we are really doing a sort of disservice not only to ourselves, but to the suffering that another part of us is going through. Now, I'm not saying spend the whole day staring at the news. But what I am saying is get a good enough grip of what's going on from an observational point of view so that as things disintegrate further, you're not going to feel a gut punch and a slap to the side of the head that's going to immobilize you. You know, I saw a picture today by a New York Times photographer. He's in Kyiv right now in the Ukraine. And he took this picture of this dog laying in the street and the owner of the dog having his forehead right to the dog's forehead. And the story behind it is the shelling had been so intense that the dog had become so frightened and so afraid it literally was not willing to move. And finally, with a lot of coaxing and a lot of reassurance, he was able to get the dog on the move again. And this is what we sort of worry about with ourselves. We don't want to see too much in case it immobilizes us. We carry around this concept that we call hope. And we buy into the idea that we should always have hope and that hope is somehow a good thing. This is simply not the case. You haven't delved deeply into what hope really means yet. Now, on the surface alone, we can see easily that all the hope in the world is not saving, you know, a child every second in Ukraine alone who's becoming a refugee. The some 55,000 children now who are dying of starvation every single day on the planet. Hope isn't saving any of them either. Hope isn't stopping the bombs from raining down on Ukraine. Hope isn't stopping the executions in the Tigray region in Ethiopia or the bombings in Syria or the blind eye that we tend to turn to those sort of things that aren't part of the Western world. Hope isn't doing anything about all of that. We sit around and we fail to look clearly because we don't want to look at the literal destruction of our planet that's happening before our eyes. You know, I posted an article today in Action for Climate Mitigation, and you have to understand how incredible this is, and it just simply has never happened before. We literally have temperatures in ranges in the Arctic and in the Antarctic at the same time, 30 to 50 degrees centigrade higher than normal. 50 degrees in the summertime, you know, the heat wave in Greece way back in the day, 1992, somewhere around there, 2002, I can't really remember right now. Temperatures were in and around 50. Our planet is morphing and changing through what we've done and the processes that we've started right before our eyes. And what do? We hope that someone is going to figure it out. Or we do what a lot of people do. We just ignore it. We just don't want to look. But it's that concept of hope that actually kills us. You see, hope is not an acceptance of the present moment. Hope is a refusal of what is right now. And that's why it's such a trap. And we're all falling into it. You know, hope for the people of Ukraine. Yeah, you know, if you go over there and talk to any one of them, and I have 3 people over there and I hear what's going on, and I see what's going on firsthand. Through the eyes of these people, hope does nothing. It ignores the present moment. I hope things will be better tomorrow. Tomorrow's not here. Now is here, and tomorrow will still be now. Now, I want to make clear the difference for desiring that something changes. Because hope is motionless. Hope offers no movement, no exchange of energy. It is simply a refutation of what is right now. And in that, we turn our back on it. We refuse to look at it. We refuse to deal it as we know we should. So we can hope all we want that someone's going to figure out what to do about the planet, or we can give up hope and accept our doom. Now that sounds freaking miserable. I get it. But as with most truths in this relative plane that we exist in, on this mortal coil, your salvation lies in your demise. And it always has, from the day you were born. So before we get on to your doom, boy, I love that word. Before we get to your doom, let's exhaust the little bit of hope we have left. Pun intended. You know, the idea of hope is stagnation. It's refutation of what is right now. It's a refusal of this present moment. Now, when we desire for change, we are allowing ourselves to observe and recognize that there is something within us, within a situation, within our experience, that is not supportive of the whole that we want to be part of. The place of oneness and wholeness that is more in alignment with the truth of our existence. When we give in to that and we focus on that oneness and wholeness, we cannot help but move. That's that emotion. Hope offers no compassion. Why? Because hope is stagnant. Compassion is motive. It is part of the truth of your being. It rises from within you, from a place beyond your mind. Emotion, the compassion. It's active. It pours from you. It causes a movement. Not only in the physical realm, in the terms of doing something, anything, whether it's to simply smile at someone who you think may need a smile. But it's active. The same with love. When we allow ourselves to feel love for another, we are not existing with an idea of hope at all. We've gone beyond hope. We've thrown hope right out the damn door, and we've gone straight to the truth of love. And in that, we behave selflessly. There is no negative state that can arise from within you. The negative states that we experience are due to our thinking processes, and we call those feelings. But emotion, energy in motion, is the energy of that wholeness, that oneness. You never think, I'm going to feel compassionate right now, and then it doesn't happen that way. You realize compassion is rising in your being, and that you're simply a witness to that compassion arising. It's flowing from it's coming up and out. It's pouring out of you. It's not generated by thinking about it. It's only the negative shit. Sorry if this is PG-13 crap that we think about that causes all the negativity. And that's our body's reaction saying to us, you're way off base, you're way off base. Hope is part of that way off baseness. Boy, I hope things are going to be, I hope the sun's going to shine tomorrow. If the sun does shine tomorrow, great. If the sun doesn't shine tomorrow, great. You know, if we're living a life of positive and negative, you're going to put a gun in your head, to your head or in your mouth and pull the trigger one of these days. Or you're going to take some pills, you're going to take a long walk over a short cliff. Whatever the case is, if you're going to try to live in a space where everything has got to be looking up and you're going to be living from that place of hope, you're going to become suicidal very quickly. And I say that not to be mean and not to belittle anyone at all. I say that to admonish and make you aware. It's time to move a little bit beyond the mind. We're not going to think our way out of this. We're not. That's where accepting your doom comes in. This is where doom, our collective doom, is also our savior. You know, we seem to be perfectly okay shipping weapons to Ukraine, which has a huge populace of 44 million people. It's the second largest country in Europe. And we seem to be okay with the excuse that, well, we don't want to piss off Russia, make Russia upset. So we'll just let these people die. We'll give them weapons and hope they do okay. And we do that all over the world. Not only do we appear to be doomed to fight to the very last breath for everything, but our civilization, as I've spoken about before, as I've warned about, and as I've set the timeline for, of 5 to 8 years, TikTok, we're moving down to almost 4.5 to 7.5 in the next few months here, 3 months. The doom of our civilization. And you know, everyone wants everything to go back to normal. We're doomed if we do, and we're doomed if we don't. So if we try to continue on as normal, well, you know, hey, Russia tried to invade Ukraine. Let's just forget all about everything else. And, you know, we all need to build more weapons. We need more security. We need more Arctic patrols. We need more ships. Canada's talking about increasing its military spending. You know, literally the opportunity where the world was trying to shift itself to looking at this gorgeous, beautiful environment that we call Mother Nature, that has literally given birth to every species that's here and nurtured us and cared for us for time immemorial. Now we're back to war. Now we're back to dropping bombs. Now we're back to high gas prices and profits being raped off of people who can barely afford to live as it is. And we want to keep it. We don't want to accept it's doomed. We don't want to accept that our way of life that is contingent, that 50,000 children die of starvation every day, and over 2 billion people are food insecure, and people who have to live in rubble amongst burned out, bombed out buildings. Our whole way of life is contingent on those people living that existence, and it has not changed in 100 years. But you want to keep it. You know, we don't need an environment if we have 50 flavors of toothpaste. And no one's willing to give up anyone, because double spearmint bubblegum Pop-Tart should be on a shelf to brush your teeth with. We have to embrace our doom. Seriously. We have to give up that false concept of hope that we can somehow fix this, as nothing is fixed, as more and more people suffer every day. Hope that we'll get it right sooner or later, as more and more people suffer and lose their homes, and lose their livelihoods, and lose the ability to care for themselves. This year is going to be a year like no other you've seen yet, and we're still in just the beginning of it. The food shortages this year, the price of food, add 20 to 30% over what you see right now, and expect to see stuff running out on the shelves by the fall. That's here. When that happens here, more people are dying of starvation south of the border. I know, it's all miserable. It sounds terrible, but let it die. Quit trying to hold on to this civilization. Quit trying to hold on to the idea that the way we are collectively living is serving anyone at all. Because if it's not serving one, it's not serving us all. The idea where a lot of people have good things, most people struggle, can make it, sort of. Maybe they can afford a vacation for a week once a year as long as they're just getting on a bus. And then there's a whole pile of people who barely make it at all. And we call that civilization. We're not civilized. We could spend the next half hour naming mammals and birds and insects that behave far better than we do. But I'm not going to bother with that. The point is I really want you to give up all hope and accept your doom. Accept the doom of this civilization. Accept the doom of the way we choose to live at the expense of others. Accept the doom of an economy designed to rape every last resource that is keeping us and every species on this planet alive, only to feed the greed of the few. I am not saying give up. I am not saying there is no future. I am saying if you're anywhere near my age today, if you're over the age of 30 years old today, you've been part of the problem your whole life and you didn't even know it, and that's okay. Because there really are no problems. We had to be driven to this point. There's no way out of where we've come to. We had to come here. And we have to be willing to allow the civilization as we know it to die. Because if we don't, there is no future. There is no future for the children. There's none. You don't have to believe me. You're going to find out. And you know what? For those who haven't paid much attention, unfortunately, I've got a very long, very good track record. I don't want to be right about it. But we've driven ourselves here. It's a natural outcome of our behavior. Accepting our doom, giving up on hope, allows us to start taking action. Action to do what? To envision and create a new world. A world with an economy that is interactive with the environment and based upon the health of our planet. Not upon greed. Not upon speculation that keeps driving gas prices up so a select few can get richer and richer. We know and have all the tools to do this. But because we're so stuck in hope, so stuck in refusing to give up on this civilization that we've created, refusing to see how twisted and sick that it has become. There are many of you who work with a lot of people who cannot interface with our civilization anymore. They either don't have the mental capacity, the mental strength it takes. They're too gentle, they're too feeling, they're too open, they're too compassionate, and they simply can't interface with this. They understand what most people refuse to get. We've got to let it go. Here's the clincher. When you're doomed and you keep fighting against that doom to keep things the same, all as you do is prolong the pain and suffering. And it may not be you who the suffering is prolonged for. It may be someone living in Africa, in that continent. It may be somebody in some other part of the world. It may be your neighbor down the street. But the longer we try and hold out on hope, the longer we refuse to accept the doom of the way we've chosen to live and the intense greed and misuse. I mean, most people who are watching this video are living in North America. Well, welcome to 6% of the population using 35% of the world's resources. We've got to let it die. We've got to quit fighting it, because the longer we fight it, the more damage is done. The more pain and suffering is inflicted. We're already going to see this year where 1/4 of the world's wheat supply is literally going to become unavailable. And that's Ukraine and Russia alone. And the idea that Canada and other nations are going to pick it up is a pipe dream, because the planet's going to burn again this year. Lake Powell, one of the major water reserves in the U.S., is within 35 feet of having to shut its electrical pumping capability down. And guess what? We haven't even gotten to the summer heat yet. If we give up hope, if we accept our doom, what happens? Well, we can come together. We can say, screw hope. It's done. We got to accept the doom of the way we're living right now. We can come together and we can envision a new world. Now, the unfortunate reality from the place where I sit and the information that I receive, and this is one of these things I don't really want to talk about, and I have a hard time talking about it, but one of the group members had said, you know what, Garen, it's going to happen either way, so you might as well just spit it out. And that's the truth of it. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Because everyone's too afraid to. And if they're not too afraid to, they perceive themselves as losing too much. The millionaire who has the 10,000 square foot mansion and the swimming pools and the 10 cars and the helicopter pad, he's not going to want to give up shit and have to move into an environmentally constructed multiplex where different generations and families and lifestyles all lived in relative harmony in a more communal setting with each other. He would never give that up. We're not going to do it. I wish I could say differently, but we're not. We're going to keep going down this stupid ass road. The false sense of hope that so many are relying on so they can perpetrate this literal genocide of the human race and the rest of the planet, because they think somehow they're going to be able to have enough to keep themselves going. So knowing that, what can you do? The same thing that you needed to do the day you came here. And that is realize that there's a perfection going on, whether you can see it or not. Realize that your only choice has ever been to surrender to life, to surrender to the process. And most importantly, to choose. To choose for you. To choose for you who and what you will be in what is already here. It's not coming. Climate disruption isn't coming. World war isn't coming, as I talked about months ago. It's here, now. Get over it. Instead, surrender. Give up that last piece of yourself that you tried to hold in reserve as a hedge bet against life, and live fully. I'm not advocating you stop everything and run out to a cave. That's not going to do it. I'm saying live your life fully. Choose right now. Live right now. Look around you and say, what is the best thing I can do within the power of who I am and how I want to express myself and what I need for myself? How do I get that into alignment with what the world needs to see radiating from me? And then just be that and know that that's enough. Because one person radiating that will affect a few people. 2 people radiating it will affect a lot more. 3 people, 4, 5, 6, a whole community, a Facebook group, a whole province, a whole state, a whole country, a whole world reflecting that. There is no blame. That there is no finger that we can point at anyone that also is not pointing at us too. And this has never been about blame. This is about responsibility. Responsibility. A lot of people are going to respond out of fear. That fear will morph into the nastier sides of fear, like anger and hate and self-protectionism and things like that. But that creative, that divine consciousness doesn't give a rat's ass what is going on with you. What it cares about is what you choose. And it loves you no matter what. But it does not accept that you feel you're making your choices because of your surroundings or because of your environment. That's not valid. Your choices are yours and yours alone. That's what I mean when I say give up all hope and accept your doom. Accept the doom of the labels that you've used, the concepts that you have with yourself. And now more than ever, realize that you planned this. You planned this life, every last bit of it. You knew damn well. You watched and saw ahead of time. And believe it or not, you were excited. You came roaring down that tunnel and pop, there you came up right into your, well, unless you're like me and you were hatched, right into your mother's womb. You came here all-powerful, all-knowing for this particular journey right here, right now, knowing this was part of it. What power you must have. What a gift is sitting right there in the palm of your hand. That's your choice now. That's all of our choice. Do we keep looking behind us? Do we keep trying to hold on to the toys and the systems and the way we've been living the sheer percentage of the population experiencing mental illness right now, the sheer number of people who are inoculating themselves through the use of some substance or another in order to get by day to day. And we want to keep it. We have to let it go. We have to understand that we came here now at this pivotal moment in the history of all humanity. There has never been a time so pivotal in relation to our future than right now. This is it. This is the moment, and you chose it. Don't look back. There's nothing back there. Nothing back there worth keeping. The only thing worth keeping is right here, right now, in front of us. What do you choose? And again, no blame. None. It's only going to get harder from here, and it isn't going to get easier. I encourage everybody to write their MP, their MLA, Justin Trudeau, talk to the news. We need a universal basic income. We need a way to offset some of the suffering that's happening right here in our own communities. We need to be willing to recognize that if we have any sort of abundance at all, that we've got to be willing to open our hearts. Because there's no humanity worth saving if we become inhumane. And you know what? We've become that. When we bomb schools and apartment buildings, and where I see old babas with glass cuts all over their face crying, asking what they've done to deserve this, we have become inhumane. When we allow the mistreatment of women, when we allow the mistreatment of anyone, we've become inhumane. If you try to hide from what's happening, if you tried to close your eyes from it, the baseball bat is going to hit you so hard that you're going to have to roll down your socks just to peek over the edge. And I don't want that to happen to anybody. Now is the time to pay close attention. Now is the time to open your heart and open your mind and give in to the full power of your being. To stop being afraid of expressing the true power of the self that you came here to demonstrate right now. Because each and every one of us who is here right now is a piece of the puzzle. Part of the key to the lock of the future. That's all I've got. You are loved. I am here for you. If appearing distant sometimes, I apologize. I carry a great weight some days. And I understand that There are fears, there are concerns, there are worries. I'm here for you. Talk to me. Get a hold of me in private. We'll talk face to face. Please don't ask me to email or chit chat where I have to type. It's so much better to look at each other and see each other, to hear each other, to feel each other. You are deeply loved. And this really comes down to our choosing. And it doesn't matter what the rest of the world chooses. What matters is what you choose. That's what matters. Namaste to you all. I love you. You are safe. You are so deeply loved. Good night.